What's going on, everybody? Brett here. We're back with my YouTube channel, Good Talk Gaming, checking out some more Total War Warhammer 2. This is going to be a subscriber battle between a friend of mine, Triari, versus Green Raven as the dwarf player. So one of Triari's favorite races to play, I know for a fact, is definitely the High Elves. He also likes the Wood Elves, big elf fan. But he's going to be taking this build here in particular to help him crack a very powerful Dwarven army. So let's go ahead and slow-mo it. Actually, we probably don't even need to slow-mo this much. The dwarf player has a very defensive formation, lots of Longbeards. Longbeards have excellent armor stats, as well as their bronze shields help protect them from the high elf fire. See there, one of the moon bows going off from Elithanar, going to be hitting that Rune Lord dead center. Meanwhile, the flame cannons, double flame cannons, are going to be absolutely tearing into the Shadow Warriors. The Shadow Warriors here eating a Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and some of this Ranger fire. Rangers being buffed by the Master Rune of Oath and Steel is going to be providing them that armor, and the armor also going off of the flame cannon. That's one of my favorite strategies, is to stick a Rune Lord or a Rune Smith near my artillery to give them that damage resistance as well as that that armor buff. Helps to protect the crews themselves from counter artillery fire. And Triari is pretty smart here. One of the terrors against Dwarven artillery when facing the High Elf matchup is certainly the Eagle Claw bolt throwers. Their accuracy in this 1v1 makes it pretty difficult to stand and skirmish against them, especially if your play is to take lots and lots of flame cannons who don't have the best range. A range of 230 is enough to outrange their archers and their skirmishers, but not enough to outrange these Eagle Claw bolt throwers, which are going to absolutely tear apart, without a doubt, the remaining flame cannon, which is already down to just 2 models. And the dwarf player seems to be pretty experienced. He knows that his days are numbered if he just sits back and lets the artillery fire rain in. So he's moving forward. Still two pieces left. It might be worth it just to leave them behind and just start shooting at these. Just whatever you can hit. Only one now. At least his infantry is still intact. Very good tactic from Triari here, using the clone, the Elithanar decoy, to blob up all of this infantry. And now we have nobles on chariots coming in from the side. Oh my god, we're going to slow-mo this. We're going to slow-mo this all day. So the decoy, it's very easy to tell which unit is the decoy because it has Unbreakable. If you just check its units card very quickly, you can see it's pretty obvious. But the chariots from the side with the nobles, they have anti-infantry bonuses. They are armor piercing. On their chariots, they are absolute terrors against the dwarves. It looked like kind of an anemic charge for what it was, but they're going to be able to do some pretty devastating damage. The Rune Lord is giving plus 60 armor, so even these basic dwarf warriors are up to 145 armor. They're basically little mini steam tanks walking around, while the artillery that you call bolt throwers have been switched over to their anti-infantry spread modes. So they're going to be laying in a lot of fire to these tightly packed dwarven formations. And the White Lions of Trace are moving in. They have missile resistance, so even though it looks like they're just dudes with big axes, supposedly in the lore these lion pelts protect them from missiles. So they're going to be charging in with their great armor piercing. And they're going to get into these back lines and look to shut down these Iron Drakes, who don't really have great targets. Anything they shoot at usually dies, so that doesn't really matter, but they really want to be on large armored targets, and they're not really going to get that opportunity in this battle. They're just going to have to, shoot at whatever they can. And their artillery is absolutely dropping these Rangers and Longbeards to the ground. And if they're laying on the ground, they're not counter-skirmishing, so it's pretty good. The damage is kind of spread lightly and evenly across the entire unit, but eventually you will start killing models if you do enough damage. So that's absolutely devastating. The dwarf player is trying to pick a square engagement with these infantry units. The Longbeards with great weapons, they'll trade just fine against the White Lions, but the Pyramind Company is unbreakable. Might as well be anyway, and they have the Guardian ability. That's going to be protecting these nobles in combat, giving them a bit of physical resistance. The other noble is just kind of riding around in the back line, chasing down routing units, getting free kills. This other noble here, so they'll just have their pick of targets They can cycle into the back of this front line here, and I'm sure they will be. Meanwhile, this artillery is completely untouched. This unit of Longbeards, by the time it gets here and shuts down one of these, the other two will probably have spent all of their ammunition and have killed tons and tons of dwarves. Yeah, that's absolutely brutal. The Rune Lords should probably just get into melee already and start fighting. The Shadow Warriors, these are not the poison variant. They are decent in melee, but they probably should still be sitting back here and shooting at whatever they can. But not a bad use of them to help them kind of plug the front line with these White Lions. So while the front line here is retreating due to the overwhelming Dwarven numbers, the other White Lions are going to be charging into the backs. And the Dwarf player reacts, and he's going to detach some of his Dwarf Warriors and Longbeards to try and intercept them and keep them from rear charging his forces. Meanwhile, the Nobles detach from the frontline engagements and look to start shutting down some of these routing units, especially the Iron Drakes firing into the backs of these White Lions. That's going to be devastating. And all the while, Lithanar sits and cackles on the hill, shooting his bow. Not sure exactly who he's targeting. Let's see if we can... He's obstructed. Wow, he must be shooting at maybe the Rune Lord, and he just can't see him. That's pretty odd that he would be obstructed in that way. So, smart play by Triari. He actually just drops all of his artillery and pulls them off the pieces so that these Longbeards don't have a great target. They won't be able to just walk in and start killing his artillery pieces. So yeah, it does look like he was shooting at the Rune Lord. I think this little tiny lip of a hill is blocking him from shooting, and I think he notices that, so he's moving him forward to try and take those shots. Noble riding dirty, getting into the Longbeards. Longbeards do have charge defense against large, but not when they're moving, and certainly not if they're being hit in the back. So the Iron Drakes would be great if they were able to sit protected and shoot at these Nobles, but that is just not the case. Another Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. I think that's the third and final one for the Dwarf Lord, and that's going to be going off on these White Lions. Probably going to be taking them off the battlefield, if I had to guess. Master Rune of Negation being used to protect the Rune Lord from the sniping of Elithanar, who's really worn him down over the course of this battle. 42 kills here, 46 kills here. He may still have another activation of the Moon Bow. I would not doubt it. Looks like some of these artillery pieces are going to be coming back online, at least the one that it's safe to do so. The Dwarves are a pretty hardy race. You really have to kill their leadership and then really put them low in order for them to want a rout. So they're still fighting despite getting the worst of the artillery trade. And those Iron Drakes are still shooting in. Some of the Rangers are still shooting in. Perhaps a bit of friendly fire here. But as long as these Nobles don't get stuck in this melee, they should be able to continue cycle charging. An 84 charge bonus is not something you want to waste, sitting in melee. And Triari's going to be on top of his micro. He's going to be pulling them out. Regrouping with the White Lions, trying to get some artillery back on. When the Longbeards go to chase, he detaches, brings them back. At some point here, I imagine he's going to bring them all back. But it's pretty difficult. It's better to keep them alive so that the balance bar stays in your favor than it is to simply lose them. Balance bars are swung pretty heavily by artillery pieces, and the fact that his are not dead is helping him out quite a bit. All he really has to do is keep Elithanar safe. He's out of ammunition, no more free shots for him. He's a decent lord in melee. Weapon strength of 400 is fine. His armor piercing in melee is not nearly as good as it is in missile damage. The Dwarf player here, honestly, he has lots of ammunition left on his Rangers. He still has only 2 Iron Drakes with torpedo. I would probably not want to take this engagement. I would set up a front line with my Longbeards to give me that charge defense against the Nobles. And then I would sit far back with my Rune Lord to make sure he didn't get killed. And, make a little defensive pocket and march around with my Rangers, giving me that range superiority. These White Lions won't last very long. There's only 17 models left. But Elithanar plus 2 Nobles on Chariots should be more than a match for the infantry here. So the Longbeards provide an encouragement aura that helps the infantry units continue fighting. Kind of the same as a Rune Lord would do. So sometimes in the absentee of a Lord, the Longbeards can keep you in the fight. But Longbeards, while great defensive units, especially for their prices, they're very cheap, $650 I believe for the standard variant. They are not great offensive units. So in a battle versus something like the Pure Main Company, the Pure Main Company will give much better than it gets. And the Lithanar should just be able to chew through them with his high weapon strength. Every time he swings, a unit or two should die. And this Noble is on the hunt. The Rune Lord could not outrun him even if he was just on foot. So on a chariot, you will never be able to outrun him. And that's going to signal the shattering of the dwarves, and they will be running off of the battlefield. So they shame their ancestors a little bit. I hate to tell them that. So obviously this is not the most competitive dwarf build. Flame cannons are, 1, very expensive. 2, they are also kind of highly immobile and sometimes wildly inaccurate. They can end up getting you huge kills in a blobbed up engagement, which is not something I would even expect for the High Elves to want to do. If I was fighting maybe the Greenskins, perhaps. Greenskins aren't generally too fond of bringing their artillery pieces. Flame cannons would be great. Or against, let's say, the vampire counts, that's when you really want to see flame cannons because the fire damage is relevant versus the undead and some of their regenerating units. But against the High Elves, who will almost certainly be fielding Eagle Claw bolt throwers, this is certainly not the most competitive pick. If you're going to bring artillery at all against the High Elves as the dwarves, you should probably bring cannons or organ guns. Organ guns being, of course, the more expensive and lower ranged option of the two, but the sheer volume of fire and armor-piercing damage, if you get 2 of those focusing down an Eagle Claw bolt thrower, you'll probably, I would say it's a near guarantee, even in a 2v3 situation, that you'd be able to work your way down their artillery line, killing their artillery before they can kill yours. So, and that's of course if you even want to do the kind of artillery duel that Triari was aiming for here. Everything in this build is essentially just a distraction so that he could get the maximum value possible out of the nobles. The nobles were the real threat this entire battle, and with no great armor-piercing options other than these Iron Drakes to stop them, he was going to have a very difficult time, Green Raven was. But very good play for both players. Thanks to Triari for sending me this replay. Guys, if you're a subscriber and you'd like to send me a replay to cast on my channel, all you have to do is add me on Steam. I'm Good Talk Gaming. And just let me know, hey, I'm a sub. I'd love to send you a replay. And I will shoot you an email where you can send me that. And yeah, I'll take a look and consider casting it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And yeah, stay tuned because I'll have plenty more coming. I think this week I'm going to do a Total War Warhammer 2 video every day. So that's my goal. And I think I'll be able to do that. I have lots and lots of great quality replays that I hope you enjoy. Alright guys, take care, and see you later.